I pretended to be asleep and heard everything she said about me to her friends. I, 28M, live with my girlfriend, 26F, of about 3 years. We moved in together a year ago, and for the most part, things have been okay. Not perfect, we've had the typical ups and downs, but nothing that made me question the relationship until about a month ago. She started acting weird around me. Not distant exactly, but performative. Like everything she did was for show. Hugs felt staged, compliments seemed rehearsed, and she suddenly started doing all these little things she'd never cared about before, like texting me good morning even though we sleep in the same bed, or calling me pet names she'd never used. At first, I chalked it up to maybe she was trying to reconnect or something. I thought maybe I had been off, and this was her way of fixing it. I even mentioned it, lightly, and she just smiled and said, "I'm just trying to be better to you." Nice words, right? But it didn't feel right. I know her, or at least I thought I did, and this felt like someone tried to appear like a good girlfriend, not actually be one. Then last Friday, she had 2 of her friends over for a girls' night. They brought wine, gossip, the whole deal. I had no plans, so I figured I'd just chill in the bedroom and let them do their thing in the living room. At around 11:30 p.m., I heard them laughing about something, and I decided to just stay in bed and pretend to be asleep when she came in. No big deal. Only, I didn't fall asleep, and that's when I heard it. She came into the room to grab something, quietly, probably thought I was asleep, and then her phone rang. It was her best friend who had just left. I don't know what compelled her to answer in the room, but she did. I wish she hadn't, because what I heard changed everything. She answered the call in a low voice, that half-whisper people use when they think someone might be asleep. I was lying on my side, facing the wall, and I froze the second I heard her say, "He's asleep." "Yeah, I'm in the room." She laughed a little, not a happy laugh. A "this is so messy" kind of laugh. Then she said, "I honestly don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. I feel like I'm suffocating." I felt my stomach tighten. At first, I thought she was talking about something else. Work maybe? But then she kept going. "He's a good guy, you know? Like objectively. Nothing's wrong. But I just don't feel it anymore. Not the way I should. And I keep pretending like I'm playing the role of the perfect girlfriend, and it's exhausting." I couldn't move. My whole body went cold. You know that feeling when you realize you're not the person you thought you were to someone? That creeping numbness that starts in your spine and spreads? That. Then came the part that really hit me. Sometimes I think I just stayed because it was easy. And I do love him, but I'm not in love with him. And I don't know how to tell him that without breaking him. She was pacing at this point. I could hear her feet on the hardwood floor. She lowered her voice even more. "He talks about the future like it's guaranteed. Marriage. Kids. I can't even imagine marrying him anymore. I used to. I used to daydream about it. But now, it feels like a cage. I want out, but I don't want to hurt him." She paused while her friend responded. I couldn't hear the other side, but she sighed. "No, I haven't told him. I was going to last month, remember? I even practiced what I was going to say. But then he surprised me with that weekend trip, and it felt too cruel. He tries so hard. He really thinks we're okay. I can't tell him when he's trying." I stayed still, breathing shallow. My heart was pounding so loud, I was terrified she'd hear it. She stayed on the call for maybe 10 more minutes, talking about how she needed to figure it out and how guilty she felt. Eventually, she left the room again to say good night to her friend in the hallway, and I finally exhaled. I didn't sleep that night. At all. I didn't confront her that night. I lay awake the entire time, staring at the wall, listening to her come back into bed and fall asleep next to me like nothing happened. She wrapped her arm around me at one point in the middle of the night, something she hadn't done in weeks, and I almost flinched. But I stayed still. I had to, because I needed time to think. By morning, she was acting completely normal, smiling, asking if I wanted pancakes, telling me she had a Zoom meeting later and might be out of reach for a few hours. Meanwhile, I was sitting there pretending like my heart hadn't just been stepped on 10 hours earlier. I couldn't look at her the same. Every gesture suddenly felt fake. Every kiss, every joke, every love you. I started second-guessing the entire relationship. Was she ever really happy? Was I blind this whole time? I didn't say anything for 2 days. Not because I was trying to be sneaky, but because I needed to figure out what I wanted. Did I want to confront her? Did I want to try and fix this? Did I even want to be with someone who felt like being with me was a chore? I read so many Reddit threads during those 2 days about relationships, about emotional honesty, about people staying out of guilt. And over again, one thing stood out. If someone's already emotionally halfway out the door, the worst thing you can do is pretend everything's fine. On the third day, I cracked. We were watching some dumb show together, and I just couldn't hold it anymore. I muted the TV and said, "Can I ask you something? And can you please just be honest?" She looked confused. "Yeah, of course." I took a deep breath. "Do you actually still want to be in this relationship?" She blinked like I'd slapped her, then sat up straight. "What? Why would you ask that?" "Because I think I overheard you on the phone the other night, when you thought I was asleep." The color drained from her face. She didn't deny it. She didn't even try. She just said, "How much did you hear?" I said, "Enough." When I said enough, she looked like she wanted to crawl out of her own skin. She kept blinking and rubbing her hands together like she was trying to buy herself time. "I didn't mean for you to find out that way," she said quietly. "But you meant what you said?" I asked. She paused. "Yeah, I did." That hurt more than I thought it would. Not because I didn't expect it. I did, but because hearing it confirmed made it real. She started crying, which pissed me off more than I care to admit. Because why was she crying? I was the one being told I was basically loved out of obligation. "I didn't know how to bring it up," she said through tears. "You've been nothing but good to me." And I kept hoping the feelings would come back. That line, hoping the feelings would come back, stuck in my chest like a splinter. She went on about how she wasn't cheating, how it wasn't about anyone else, how it was just burnout, emotional detachment, her own confusion. She even said she thought maybe she was depressed. But the truth is, I don't think it matters. Whether it's another person or just boredom or apathy or fear, the end result is the same. She didn't want to be with me anymore. At least not in the way that mattered. "So what now?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. "I don't know. I still care about you so much. I don't want to lose you. But you don't want me either." Silence. That silence said everything. After that conversation, I went for a long walk. No destination, no music. Just me, my thoughts, and that hollow feeling in my chest that felt a lot like grief. Because that's what this was. The death of the version of our relationship I thought was real. When I got back, I didn't say much. Neither did she. We just kind of coexisted that night. Made dinner. Watched some TV. Said goodnight. The weird part was that it was probably the most honest interaction we'd had in weeks, because now there was no pretending. The next morning, I told her I wanted some space and that I'd be staying at my brother's place for a few days. She didn't argue. She just nodded and asked if I needed help packing a bag. That was the moment I knew this thing was over. No one fights for something they want to keep if they're relieved when you leave. I called her and asked to come by to talk. She offered to meet at a cafe, but I said no. I wanted to be where we lived, where it all happened. I needed that kind of closure. I told her I was moving out, that I appreciated the honesty, even if it came by accident, and that I wasn't angry, just sad. "You should be with someone who makes you feel alive," I said. "And I should be with someone who doesn't have to convince herself to love me." She cried again. So did I, honestly. It was ugly and raw and not the dramatic, screaming match people might expect. It was two people mourning something that used to be good and wasn't anymore. I packed up over the next few days. I left her a note on the counter with the keys. "Thank you for the good years. I hope we both find what we're looking for." And that was it. It's been a month. Still hurts, but in a different way now. The kind of hurt that tells you you're healing. Funny thing is, I don't hate her. I actually still care about her. I just know now that caring isn't enough to hold two people together when one of them has already emotionally left. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. Don't confuse consistency for connection. Don't mistake effort for desire. And if you ever find yourself pretending to sleep just to hear the truth, you already know it. 3 months out now, and things feel clearer. I've got my own apartment again. Small, nothing fancy, but it's mine. No weird tension when I walk in the door. No pretending. No guessing how someone else feels. Just peace. The first couple of weeks were rough. Really rough. You don't just unlove someone overnight, especially when the ending wasn't explosive, just quietly devastating. I kept wondering if I should have fought harder. If maybe I gave up too easily. But then one night, I remembered something she said on that phone call. I want out, but I don't want to hurt him. That wasn't someone crying out for me to fight. That was someone already gone, just too afraid to be the villain. A few weeks ago, she texted me. Hey, just wanted to see how you're doing. Hope a new place is nice. I miss talking to you. I stared at the message for a long time. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't manipulative. It was just familiar, like muscle memory. But I didn't respond. Not out of bitterness. Not because I hate her. Because I've learned that missing someone is not a good enough reason to invite them back into your life. She had my love. All of it. And when it mattered, she didn't want it. If anyone reading this is in that limbo, in that relationship where the words are still there, but the meaning is gone, don't settle for being tolerated. Don't accept, I love you from someone who has to rehearse it. And if you ever overhear the truth, believe it.